Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day and has had a good week. And we look forward to seeing everyone in Shul this Shabbos, especially with the Kiddush luncheon that will be following davening this week. And again, we encourage people to bring a game so that people can stay after lunch and enjoy the company of one another and have a good time. And we are very happy and proud that the Shul can facilitate the community and friends spending pleasurable, enjoyable time together on Shabbos. This week we'll read two parshas, Matot-Masei, yes, the longest double parsha of the year. These two parshas also conclude the book of Bamidbar. Now, the ending of the book of Bamidbar can be seen as a major endpoint in the Torah. The first four books of the Torah, beginning with the stories of creation, through the Avot and Imahot, and then through the stories of Egypt and the wilderness, the formation of the Jewish people, the receiving of the Torah, and getting ready to enter the land of Israel. The end of the book of the Bamidbar is the end of that story. We have reached the border. We are standing right at the Jordan River looking over into the land of Israel. The last book of the Torah, Devarim, nothing happens. Those are just the speeches that occurred in the last few months as the Jews were sitting there at the border. And so the end of the book of Bamidbar in many ways can be seen as the end of or the end of a part of the story. And we could imagine that that the book of Bamidbar would end in some dramatic way with some beautiful picture of the Jews again at the Jordan River, looking out into Israel, into the future that lies ahead of them. But instead, in the two parshas that we'll read, especially the last parsha, Masei, it seems anticlimactic. It is not dramatic, and it is a collection of laws that seem to be technical, revolving around boundaries, dividing up the land, really not interesting, quite honestly, to most of us. It seems like all of those things that weren't interesting and were just stuck at the end, which makes it a difficult parsha to follow and to come away with something meaningful. However, this week I heard a share from Rabbi David Foreman, who we've had as a guest teacher here, who really quite brilliantly uncovered some deeper messages and themes that occur in the end of the book of Bamidbar, and it inspired me to look at it in a different way, and I'd like to share with you a thought that occurred to me. The last two paragraphs of Masei in the book of Bamidbar are one. It is the mitzvah of the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge. When someone kills someone unintentionally, the person must run away to the city of refuge where he is safe from the blood avenger. However, if he or she leaves the city, then if a family member of the victim would kill the original killer, they would not be punished. This parsha, this section, makes sense to appear here. It has to do with setting aside certain cities in the land of Israel. It has to do with the apportioning and boundaries of the land of Israel. But still, it did not need to be here. In fact, the mitzvah of Goel Hadam does appear later in the book of Devarim. It could have been placed there, yet the Torah seems to specifically want to put it here right at the end of the book of Bamidbar. And then the very final section of Masei in the book of Bamidbar finishes up, completes the story of the daughters of Slavchad, who in last week's parsha asked that although their father had no male heirs, that they should inherit their father's portion, so their father's name should not be erased. And of course, Hashem said they are correct. The daughters of Slavchad will inherit their father. And at the end of this week's parsha, other members of their extended family, clan, and tribe come to Moshe and say, but if the daughters of Slavchad will inherit their father's portion, if they will merit men from another tribe, well, then their family will follow the tribe of the father, and then they will bequeath that tribal land to their children who will belong to another tribe. And in that way, our tribe will lose out some of its fair share of the land of Israel. So it's not fair, they complain to Moshe and ultimately to Hashem. And Moshe tells them that, yes, you are correct, and therefore the daughters of Slavchad should only marry someone from the tribe of Yosef, from their tribe of Manasseh, and that way there will not be any mixing of the tribal areas. This is how the book of Bamidbar ends. This is how the story of the four books end. And again, it is not clear why this is here. Presumably this could have been included in last week's Parsha, where the main part of the Bnei Slavchad story appears. Even if they approach Moshe a little bit later, it does not need to be the very last section of the book of Bamidbar. It occurred to me, though, that these last two sections are connected and are concluding the book of Bamidbar with a profound idea and theme that runs through the whole first four books. The first four books can be seen as the formation, the creation of the Jewish people. And that was a process that was in danger in different moments. It could have gone down different paths. It ultimately went down the path of Yaakov and his 12 sons. And we know, though, that there were critical moments where Yaakov was worried he had failed because of the divisions and the fighting within the brothers, specifically the brothers versus Yosef. And there was a division between those brothers. And we know those divisions continued into Jewish history. And one of the questions was, could the Jewish people be a unified people? Could they heal the divisions between the tribes? We know Yehuda began that process at the end of the book of Bereshis. But could the tribes really coalesce? Could they work together? Could they be unified? Could they see themselves as one people? And that was a process in Egypt through the 40 years in the wilderness. The second to last parsha in the book of Bamidbar is, yes, the parsha, the paragraph about the Ir Miklat, about the city of refuge. But it concludes with a very strongly worded message. The whole idea of the parsha is that the taking of another life is so traumatic that even when it's done by mistake, there must be some process of atonement, including the city of refuge. And the Torah warns that when there is a murder, intentional or unintentional, below tichu kofer lenefesh rotzeach, a person cannot buy off his freedom or an innocent verdict. He cannot even pay to get out of going to the city of refuge. Velo tachanifu et haaretz asher tembam, and you shall not bring guilt upon the land. Ki hadam hu yachanif et haaretz, because spilled blood brings guilt upon the land. Vala haaretz lo yechupar, and there will not be an atonement when innocent blood is shed, is spilled. Velo titamei et haaretz, you shall not make the land impure. Ki ani Hashem shochem b'toch bnei Yisrael, for I am the one who dwells in that land with the Jewish people. Torah stressing that murder, violence, especially in the kind of Jew versus another Jew, the Torah cannot bear, Hashem cannot bear. Fighting within the Jewish people, violence within the Jewish people, even any kind of division within the Jewish people, it brings impurity upon the land. The land cannot bear it. Almost a warning, and if there will be, the land will spit them out, as the Torah says elsewhere. And in that context, when the Torah is warning, when Hashem is saying there cannot be violence, there cannot be fighting between Jew and Jew, the Torah concludes with this last postscript to the story of the daughters of Slavchad. And what is it? It is the tribe of Yosef. The tribe of Yosef speaking up, and the tribe of Yosef worrying. Yes, because the daughters of Slavchad will get their father's portion, and they will marry out of the tribe, and our land will be lost to another tribe. The tribe of Yosef speak up to Moshe, the tribe that was looked down upon by the other tribes, and Moshe responds. Vaysav Moshe b'nei Yisrael, and Moshe commanded the entire Jewish people. He said, Jewish people, all of the tribes, I want you to hear this. Quote, Cain Matei b'nei Yosef Dovrim. The tribe of Joseph is correct. Listen to them. The tribe of Yosef will not be swallowed up by the other tribes. The tribe of Yosef must be protected. The tribe of Yosef has its own land, its own tribal area. This last parsha is connecting all the dots, all the stories, and saying, yes, by the time we entered the land of Israel, Yosef was a part of the Jewish people. Yosef was a valued, respected, defended tribe of the Jewish people. Yosef is right. Yosef will not be lost. We have 12 intact tribes. There will not be fighting. There will not be murder between brother and brother, between the other tribes and Yosef. And so the book is ending with this almost implied reconciliation. Look, we made it. Yosef is still here. But the lesson is going forward, be careful because there are still divisions, potential for divisions. Yosef is threatened by the other tribes. Will they take away my land? Hashem has to warn them there will not be fighting, there cannot be division. Continuing this path, the reconciliation was not complete. And unfortunately, we saw that it was not complete in the future in Jewish history, but they were on the right path. They were going forward. As we enter the 9 days, our Chazal, our sages, saw that one of the great causes they saw of the destruction and the exile from the land of Israel was the divisions within the Jewish people. Practically prevented them from optimally dealing with the Romans, and spiritually it weakened the Jewish people. Hashem cannot bear when he sees his children fighting. And so this time of year, when we mourn the loss, try to consider and think about the lessons that we are to take from the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. When we will look forward to the great prophecy of Yechezkel, of the two branches, the two staffs of Yehuda and Yosef, of being united, the true unity of the Jewish people. That is what Hashem seeks. That is what will bring redemption at this time in particular. We should try to strengthen in our hearts the sense of love with every Jew, even or especially if they're different from us, religiously, politically, culturally, to try to get over those divisions, get over those differences, to remember we are one people, we share a fate, we are all the children of Hashem, and it is the strengthening of those bonds, the strengthening of the unity of the people, of the Jewish people, which are implicitly the lessons at the end of the book of Bamidbar. In that merit, we should see the complete redemption of the Jewish people and the world even more speedily and in our days. Good Shabbos, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom.